any cartoon aimed at children not made in the 80s or early 90s sucks. We're so self-appointed judges of animated quality of my generation always tell me. And yet I find myself unable to go back and watch some tunes from my time with a straight face, like He-Man or G.I. Joe. But some stuff that came out after I stopped watching Saturday morning cartoons, like the Ninja Turtles reboot and Justice League Unlimited, had me engrossed when I caught up with them on YouTube. Yet I found myself mystified by all the My Little Pony stuff cropping up in forum signatures, demotivationals, and YouTube poops everywhere. Seriously, My Little fucking Pony? That was basically Hasbro's attempt to diversify from G.I. Joe and shit and aim at young girls, right? This enigma was further compounded upon some checking and discovering the term brony. Apparently that refers to fans who are males aged 14 to 35 or something. And with that, my curiosity was further piqued. I am not shy or ashamed of the fact that I myself like some stuff targeted at young girls. The best example is Sailor Moon. I chalk that up to how I believe Naoko Takeuchi created memorable superhero characters who, in my eyes, are as endearing in the long run as Marvel and DC's best heroes. It was enough to carry the series to 200 episodes, and yes, I've seen every single one. A less extreme example is Disney's Kim Possible. That came out when I was around 20, long after those early years growing up with the Disney afternoon. That's another series I checked out on YouTube due to curiosity, and I was immediately taken in. It's easily just as good as stuff like Rescue Rangers and Darkwing Duck. This time it was due to insanely clever writing that had me in stitches. Although the animated comedies I like best are the rude and crude ones like Ranma 1/2, South Park, and Family Guy, Kim Possible is proof positive those shenanigans aren't required to make a cartoon funny. So yeah, the other day I looked at the pilot for Friendship is Magic. And, well, right away, I was hit over the head with a sack of butterflies. The new My Little Pony delivered both memorable characters and clever writing right out of the gate. I guess Lauren Faust is to thank for that. She spearheaded the initial production, and her resume includes Powerpuff Girls, another show with its own brand of clever humor. Anyway, you're immediately introduced to this fledgling scholar of a unicorn called Twilight Sparkle, who comes off as a know-it-all workaholic jackass. Basically, she comes across signs that some apocalyptic figure called Nightmare Moon is about to return, but her boss, Princess Celestia, tells her to chill the fuck out and puts her on an assignment in Ponyville. Twilight Sparkle's debut succeeds on a lot of levels. We find ourselves rooting for her, knowing it's inevitable that Twilight must work to come out of her shell. The subtitle is Friendship is Magic, after all. Yet at the same time, we sympathize with Twilight as we're introduced to the other main ponies, who are all a few needles short of a haystack. Seriously, Twilight Sparkle's workload reminded me of all the insane shit Ranma South Tomei dealt with on a daily basis. Speaking of the introduction of the supporting cast, few pilots in recent memory introduced the rest of the crew as efficiently and adroitly as this one does. Seriously, I think it does this better than all the Star Trek pilots. The rancher and farmer Applejack is introduced first, who for obvious reasons reminded me of Bunny Rabbit from Sonic Sat-Am. How fitting that Rainbow Dash came next, who reminds me of Dulcie. Hell, they even kinda sound alike! But I hear this character's gotten flack for being a negative stereotype of lesbians. Guys, let it be known I'm 100% for gay marriage in all 50 states, but this is as retarded as evangelicals accusing SpongeBob SquarePants of promoting homosexuality. God damn, everyone. Grow thicker skin and stop being weirded out by cartoon sponges and Pegasi. But the last one introduced, Pinkie Pie, was off-putting at first. Seriously, 5 seconds after she opened her mouth, I wanted to chop her head off and dump it on some mobster's bed. Then use her body to produce glue to fuse my ear shut, while filing motions in court against the laws of physics so sound waves could no longer propagate. But after a few episodes, I grew accustomed to her special brand of zaniness. So yeah, I just admitted to watching more than the pilot episode. Well, I must admit that the second episode kinda disappointed me. The first episode had me pumped for a season-long quest akin to finding Triforce pieces or Chaos Emeralds or some shit like that. But it was all resolved in the second episode. Bait and switch, anyone? So it looks like the whole series just involves misadventures in Ponyville that serve as a vehicle for teaching things like accepting help from others, what being a true friend is, shit like that. But in the end, that works. It's an entertaining show for kids that can teach valuable life lessons, while adults can appreciate some well-written humor that doesn't feel like saccharine PBS-style claptrap is being shoved down their throats. I cannot stress this enough. This is nothing like the My Little Pony of yesteryear, which one over 15 cannot watch for more than 10 seconds without violently puking up a rainbow. Anyone who enjoys a good laugh can get something out of this. Another thing that surprised me was the animation. Believe it or not, it reminds me of how I came to appreciate South Park's animation. With both, I remember seeing screenshots and wondering how they could possibly garner such huge fan bases. But they must be seen in action. And just like with South Park all those years ago, once I did, I saw a unique elegance to MLP's animation, and now I can't imagine it any other way. Also, the fan base is so rabid, there's an indie game being made called My Little Pony, Fighting is Magic. I gotta learn how to use Hypercam now. A fighting game with colorful, boisterous ponies? I'll try that out. Should make for a fun video or two. In the end, you guys need not worry. When it comes to tunes of this millennium, for me, this doesn't quite beat out the 2003 Turtles reboot, Justice League Unlimited, or Kim Possible. But yeah, this has become my new guilty pleasure. It just goes to show how when you put effort into something, it goes beyond being a mere vehicle to sell toys and shit. In that respect, it's as successful as G1 Transformers when it debuted back in 1984. And in terms of modern-day reboots for Hasbro, it's arguably better than the live-action Transformers movies. Sure, they grossed a fuck ton, but they got mixed reactions from longtime fans, while Friendship is Magic now pulls in people who never gave two shits about My Little Pony, myself included. It's been renewed for a third season, so it's escaped the fate of some tunes I loved as a kid, like Sonic Sat-Am, SWAT Cats, and Pirates of Dark Water. So it looks like I'll be able to indulge in this guilty pleasure for years to come.